The coffee machine gurgled like a dying animal at 2:17 in the morning, and I figured that made two of us. Gray Merrickson, 52 years old, standing in my own kitchen wearing boxers and a ratty MIT t-shirt, watching 20-year-old machinery wheeze back to life. Some people collect stamps. I collect broken things and fix them. Too bad marriages don't come with user manuals. Shiloh was upstairs, dead to the world after another exhausting day at the office. Her words, not mine. I'd learned to translate Shiloh's speak over our 15 years together. Exhausting day usually meant 3 martini lunches and complaining about her marketing team's lack of vision. Vision being another word for kissing her ass hard enough to leave marks. The coffee machine finally surrendered a stream of brown liquid that might charitably be called coffee. I took a sip and winced. Even my mechanical skills couldn't fix everything. My laptop sat open on the granite counter, glowing like a digital campfire. I'd been troubleshooting a security patch for one of my banking clients when the notification popped up. Cloud sync complete. New shared file from Shiloh. That was weird. Shiloh barely knew how to sync her phone, let alone share files intentionally. She was more of a call the IT guy type, which usually meant calling me and huffing dramatically while I fixed whatever she'd broken. I clicked on the file. Schedule, private, SR. SR Shiloh Ravelin. She'd kept her maiden name for business, claimed it sounded more dynamic than Merrickson. Dynamic, right. The file opened, and my coffee suddenly tasted even worse. Tuesday 3 p.m., Rain M. Private session, Marriott Downtown Suite 412. Thursday 6 p.m., Lane H. Private session, Marriott Downtown Suite 412. Sunday 2 p.m., both, private session, Marriott Downtown Suite 412. There were notes, detailed notes. Things I won't repeat because some images can't be unseen even when they're just words on a screen. But the gist was clear enough. My wife of 15 years had been keeping a very organized schedule of her extracurricular activities. I stared at the screen for a full minute, waiting for anger to hit. Instead, I started laughing, quiet at first, then harder, until I was gripping the counter to keep from falling over. At least she's punctual, I whispered to the coffee machine. Always said organization was her strongest skill. Rain M. That would be Rain Morin, the sleazy business mentor she'd been raving about for months. He's teaching me to think bigger, Gray, to reach my full potential. Apparently, her full potential involved reaching for things I'd rather not think about. Lane H. Lane Harlex, the life coach. He's helping me find my authentic self, Gray. You wouldn't understand. Oh, I understood plenty now. Her authentic self, it turned out, was a cheating wife with excellent time management skills. I closed the laptop and stood there in the dark kitchen, listening to the house settle around me. 15 years. 15 years of her complaints about my lack of ambition, my boring job, my inability to dream big. 15 years of supporting her career changes, her reinvention phases, her endless quest to find herself. Turned out she'd been finding herself just fine. 3 times a week, apparently. The smart play would be to confront her. Demand explanations, throw the evidence in her face, and watch her scramble for excuses. But I'd been married to Shiloh long enough to know how that conversation would go. It would be my fault somehow. I wasn't attentive enough. I didn't appreciate her. I'd driven her to seek comfort elsewhere. No, I had a better idea. I opened the laptop again and started typing. Banking websites, investment accounts, credit cards. Everything we'd built together, everything in both our names. Time to do some reorganizing of my own. And I signed by sunrise, I'd moved every penny I could legally touch into accounts with only my name on them. Canceled the joint credit cards, called the utility companies, and removed my name from the services. Transferred the car payments to her name only. Shiloh's phone buzzed on the counter where she'd left it. A text from Rain. She hadn't even bothered with a fake name. Looking forward to Tuesday. Wear the red. I deleted the message and put the phone back exactly where she'd left it. Then I started packing. By the time Shiloh stumbled downstairs at 9:30, hair perfect, despite allegedly just waking up, I was loading the last box into my truck. Gray? Well, what are you doing? She stood in the doorway, coffee mug in hand, looking genuinely confused. She was good at that look. I'd fallen for it plenty of times. Moving out, I said, not looking up from securing the load. Keys are on the kitchen counter. I've transferred all the utilities to your name. You shouldn't have any problems. What? Gray, stop joking around. We need to talk about what? I turned to face her. About your schedule, Your private sessions, your authentic self. Her face went white, then red, then white again. I don't know what you think you know, but I know you accidentally shared your appointment calendar with me last night. Technology's funny that way. One wrong click, and suddenly everyone can see your private sessions. Majinamowans, she opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. For once in our marriage, Sheila Ravelin was speechless. Don't worry, I said, climbing into the truck. I'm sure Rain and Lane will help you figure out the mortgage payments. They seem very hands-on. I drove away without looking back. Leaving the house so clean, even the ghosts would be confused about what happened there. Huh. My new apartment was a furnished studio above Cleo's bar, the Blue Heron. Not exactly the Marriott downtown, but it had character. By which I mean the radiator clanged like a chain gang, and the refrigerator hummed show tunes. But the rent was cheap, and Cleo didn't ask questions. Cleo Martinez had been my friend since college, back when we were both idealistic computer science majors who thought we'd change the world with code. She'd taken a different path. Bartending paid better than ethical hacking, apparently. But she still knew her way around a network. More importantly, she knew everyone's business in this town. So, she said, sliding a beer across the bar. Heard you and the princess are having some troubles. It was Wednesday evening, 24 hours since I'd moved out. I'd been watching Shiloh's increasingly frantic attempts to reach me through various apps and social media. She'd left 17 voicemails, each one escalating from confused to angry to desperate. You could say that? I took a sip of beer. Cleo kept the good stuff on tap. How'd you hear? Mike from building security at her office mentioned she looked like she'd been hit by a truck yesterday. Also, word is she's been seen around the Marriott with some interesting company. Cleo had a way of making statements sound like questions. It was a bartender superpower. Interesting how? Well, there's the guy with the Tesla who runs those bullshit business seminars at the community college. Rain something. Real piece of work, all flash and no substance. Tips like shit, talks down to the waitstaff. And then there's the musclehead life coach, Lane somebody. Comes in here sometimes trying to pick up college girls with his unlock your potential routine. Also tips like shit. I laughed, despite myself. Sounds like Shiloh has a type. Honey, your wife has always had a type. Unfortunately, her type seems to be anything that isn't you. Cleo had never liked Shiloh, which I'd always attributed to jealousy. Now I was wondering if she'd just seen something I'd missed. My phone buzzed. Another text from Shiloh. Gray, please call me. We need to talk. This is ridiculous. I showed Cleo the message. She snorted. Ridiculous. That's rich. You know what's ridiculous? I heard from Nia, that's her assistant, that Shiloh's been using the company credit card for her little hotel adventures, calling them professional development retreats. That was interesting, and potentially useful. Nia talks to you. Nia drinks here, a lot, especially lately. Says working for your wife is like being a personal assistant to a tornado with a credit card. My phone rang. Shiloh again. I declined the call. You know, Cleo said, wiping down glasses with practiced efficiency, there's something almost admirable about how completely she's screwed herself. I mean, if you're going to cheat, maybe don't document it so thoroughly. She always was detail-oriented. Yeah, well, those details are starting to spread around town. People talk, Gray. And in a place this size, secrets have a way of becoming public knowledge real fast. As if summoned by her words, my phone lit up with notifications. The shared smart home app was going crazy. Motion sensors, thermostat changes, door locks. Shiloh was home, and she was not happy. I opened the app and watched the temperature spike to 89 degrees. She always did run hot under pressure. Is that your house? Cleo peered at my phone. Technically her house now. I removed myself from everything yesterday. Damn, Gray, you don't mess around. The front door sensor showed multiple activations. Open, close, open, close. She was pacing, probably wearing a track in the hardwood floors I'd installed last summer. Then the garage door opened. Car starting. She was going somewhere. Wanna bet she's heading to the Marriott? Cleo asked. No bet, but I'm guessing her usual appointments aren't taking her calls. I'd done some research on Rain and Lane after discovering Shiloh's schedule. Rain Morin was a small-time grifter who ran business mentorship seminars that were basically pyramid schemes with better marketing. His Tesla was leased, his office was a shared workspace, and his success stories were fiction. Lane Harlix was even worse, a failed personal trainer who'd reinvented himself as a life coach after getting fired from 3 gyms for inappropriate behavior with clients. Both of them were users, the kind of men who saw lonely, successful women as opportunities, the kind who'd disappear the moment things got complicated. My phone rang again. This time it wasn't Shiloh. Gray, this is Nia from Shiloh's office. I hope it's okay that I'm calling. Hey Nia, everything all right? Not really. Look, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but Shiloh came in today and she was a mess. Crying, making personal calls, not getting any work done. I'm sorry to hear that. The thing is, Gray, I've been covering for her for months. The personal stuff on the company card, the long lunches, the fake client meetings. I kept telling myself it wasn't my business, but Gina's been asking questions. You know Gina, right? From the competing team? I knew Gina. Gina Walsh was Shiloh's biggest rival at the marketing firm, a sharp-dressed shark who'd been angling for Shiloh's position for years. If Gina smelled blood in the water, she'd circle until she found the source. What kind of questions? About the expense reports. About where Shiloh goes during her client meetings. About why she's been so distracted lately. This was getting better by the minute. Nia, I appreciate you calling, but you don't need to get involved in our personal problems. That's just it, Gray. I don't think this is personal anymore. I think Gina's building a case to take to HR, and if she does, Shiloh could lose her job. Yeah, and honestly, after everything I've seen, everything I've had to cover up, maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing. After I hung up, Cleo refilled my beer without being asked. Trouble in paradise? Paradise burned down. Now I'm just watching the ashes blow around. The smart home app showed Shiloh's car returning home. The garage door closed with what I imagined was more force than necessary. Then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Rain. We need to talk. Meet me at the Blue Heron tonight, 9 p.m. I showed Cleo the message. She grinned. Well, looks like one of the lovebirds wants to have a conversation. Funny thing about non-refundable reservations, I said. Sometimes the guest gets left holding the bill. Rain Morin walked into the Blue Heron at exactly 9 p.m., and I had to give him credit for punctuality. He looked every inch the successful business mentor he pretended to be. Expensive suit, Italian shoes, hair styled to perfection. The Tesla key fob dangled from his finger like a prop. He spotted me immediately. I was the only customer in the place besides old Eddie, who'd been nursing the same beer since the Clinton administration. Gray. He slid into the booth across from me, all confidence and fake sincerity. Thanks for meeting me. Rain. I didn't offer to shake hands. Nice suit. Armani? Good eye. Listen, we need to talk about Shiloh. Do we? He leaned forward, lowering his voice like we were conspirators. Look, I know this is awkward, but there's been a misunderstanding. What you think is happening between Shiloh and me, it's not what it looks like. I took a sip of beer and waited. In my experience, guilty people can't stand silence. They fill it with explanations that usually make things worse. She's been paying me for business mentorship, he continued. Legitimate business advice. The hotel meetings were just more private, away from office distractions. Private sessions. I saw the notes. His face twitched. Those notes were taken out of context. Shiloh has a very creative way of describing things. Creative, that's one word for it. Cleo appeared at our table with a towel and a spray bottle, making a show of cleaning the already spotless surface. She had excellent timing. Can I get you gentlemen anything? She asked sweetly. Just water for me, Rain said without looking at her. Another mark against him in Cleo's book. She hated customers who didn't make eye contact. Coming right up. She disappeared behind the bar. Here's the thing, Gray, Rain said, turning back to me. Shiloh's been going through a difficult time, feeling unappreciated, undervalued. She needed someone to talk to, someone who understood her potential. And you understood her potential. I helped her see possibilities, new directions for her career, her life. That's what mentors do. For a fee. Of course for a fee. This is my profession. Cleo returned with a glass of water and set it down harder than necessary. A few drops splashed onto Rain's sleeve. Oops, she said, not sounding sorry at all. Rain dabbed at his jacket with a napkin, finally showing some irritation. The point is, Gray, Shiloh made her own choices. I never forced anything. She came to me. She came to you all right. 3 times a week, according to her very detailed schedule. You don't understand the complexity of the situation. I understand plenty. I understand you've been screwing my wife and charging her for the privilege. I understand you think you're untouchable because you've got her convinced she needs you. His fake smile finally cracked. Now wait a minute. I also understand that as of yesterday, Shiloh doesn't have access to our joint accounts anymore. So if you're expecting payment for your services, you might want to adjust your rates. That got his attention. The color drained from his face. What do you mean? I mean, I moved every penny I could legally touch into accounts with only my name. Shiloh's flying solo now. Hope your mentorship comes with payment plans. Rain's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened further. She's been trying to reach me all day, he muttered. Probably wondering why her credit cards aren't working. Funny how financial stress can affect a person's priorities. The bar door opened and Lane Harlix walked in, looking around nervously. He was bigger than I'd expected, all shoulders and chest, but his eyes had that trapped animal look of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. He spotted our table and approached slowly, like he was walking through a minefield. Rain, what's going on? I got your text. Sit down, Rain hissed. We have a problem. Lane slid into the booth next to Rain, shooting me suspicious glances. Is this him? Shiloh's husband? Gray Merrickson, I said, extending my hand. Nice to finally meet you, Lane. I've heard so much about your coaching methods. He didn't take my hand. Smart man. Look, Lane said. I don't know what Shiloh told you, but she didn't tell me anything. She showed me very detailed notes about your private sessions, timestamps, locations, activities. She's very thorough. Both men looked like they'd been slapped. Those were confidential coaching notes, Lane said weakly. Confidential, right. I finished my beer. Tell me, do all your clients require hotel rooms for their breakthrough sessions? Cleo materialized again, this time with a full tray of drinks for a table that didn't exist. As she passed our booth, she stumbled slightly, sending the entire tray crashing down on Rain and Lane. Beer, whiskey, and what looked like a chocolate martini cascaded over both men. Rain's expensive suit was instantly ruined. Lane's white polo shirt turned brown. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Cleo exclaimed, grabbing towels. I must have tripped. How clumsy of me. The other customers, all three of them, started applauding and cheering. Mentor, mentor, someone shouted. Soon the whole bar was chanting it. Rain shot to his feet, dripping and furious. This is ridiculous. You did that on purpose. Accidents happen, I said, standing up. Just like accidentally sharing private files. Technology's funny that way. Lane was on his feet too, trying to wring alcohol out of his shirt. You think this is funny? I think it's hilarious. Two grown men charging a lonely woman for attention, then acting surprised when her husband finds out. Yeah, that's comedy gold. You don't know what you're talking about, Lane said, stepping closer. He was trying to intimidate me with his size, but I'd been in enough bar fights in my younger days to know the difference between real threat and posturing. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know Shiloh's been using company funds to pay for your services. I know she's been lying to her boss, her coworkers, and me for months. I know both of you are small-time grifters who target vulnerable women. That's enough, Rain said, pulling out his phone. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. I'd love to explain to them how you've been running an unlicensed therapy practice out of a hotel room. I'm sure they'd be very interested in your business model. Rain hesitated, phone halfway to his ear. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're both going to stay away from my wife. You're going to stop taking her calls, stop meeting her, stop pretending to be her mentors or coaches or whatever you want to call it. You can't tell us what to do, Lane said, but his voice lacked conviction. I'm not telling you, I'm asking nicely, because the alternative is that I start sharing Shiloh's very detailed notes with some people who might find them interesting, like your other clients, like the Better Business Bureau, like the local newspaper. I pulled out my phone and showed them Lane's device, which I'd pickpocketed during the drink incident. Nice video collection, by the way. Very artistic. I'm sure your wife would appreciate your creative side. Lane's face went white. How did you? Sometimes the best security isn't a password. It's a public spectacle. Both men stared at me, finally understanding that they were outmatched. Now, I said, pocketing Lane's phone, I suggest you gentlemen find new careers. Maybe something that doesn't involve taking advantage of married women. Rain and Lane looked at each other, then back at me. Without another word, they turned and walked out of the bar. leaving wet footprints and their dignity behind. Cleo appeared at my side, grinning. That was beautiful, Gray. Absolutely beautiful. Just getting started, I said. Sometimes silence is the loudest revenge. Thursday morning brought rain and opportunity. I sat in my truck outside Rain's office building, a glass and steel monument to corporate mediocrity, watching him pull into the parking garage in his precious Tesla. He'd changed clothes since last night, but he still looked rattled. Cleo had done some digging after the bar incident. Turns out Rain's business mentorship empire was even more fragile than I'd thought. He was 3 months behind on his office rent, his business license had expired, and the Tesla was about to be repossessed. His whole lifestyle was built on credit, and the money he squeezed from lonely clients like Shiloh. Lane wasn't much better off. The gym where he taught life transformation classes was actually his ex-girlfriend's business, and she'd been looking for an excuse to kick him out since their breakup. His apartment was a studio in a complex that specialized in short-term rentals for people with bad credit. Both of them were one financial crisis away from collapse. Lucky for me, I was good at creating financial crises. My phone buzzed with a text from Nia. Shiloh didn't come in today. Gina's asking questions. Thought you should know. I texted back. Thanks. How are you holding up? Better now that I don't have to cover for her anymore. BTW, found something you might want to see. Can you meet me for lunch? Interesting. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown, then turned my attention back to Rain's Tesla. Modern cars are basically computers on wheels, and I'd spent enough time in cybersecurity to know that most of those computers have terrible security. Teslas were better than most, but they still had vulnerabilities if you knew where to look. I pulled out my laptop and got to work. 20 minutes later, I had administrative access to Rain's car. I could control the doors, the stereo, the climate control, even the GPS. More importantly, I could access the car's internal storage, including any files Rain might have saved locally. What I found made me smile. Photos, videos, and audio recordings of his mentorship sessions with multiple clients, not just Shiloh. The man was running a blackmail operation disguised as business coaching. I downloaded everything, then uploaded a special audio file to the car's entertainment system. Something I'd edited together from Lane's phone, a greatest hits collection of Shiloh's more enthusiastic moments during their private sessions. Then I locked all the doors and set the climate control to maximum heat. My phone rang. Cleo. Gray, you need to get down here, now. What's wrong? Lane's here, and he's not happy. He's asking about his phone, making threats. I think he's working up the courage to do something stupid. I packed up my laptop and headed for the Blue Heron. Behind me, I could hear car doors slamming and someone shouting about malfunctioning electronics. The rain was getting heavier. Lane was pacing outside the bar when I arrived, soaked and agitated. He'd clearly been waiting for me. You! He pointed an accusing finger. Where's my phone? Which phone would that be? I got out of my truck slowly, hands visible. Lane was bigger than me, but he was also emotional, which made him unpredictable. Don't play games with me. I know you took it last night. I took a lot of things last night. Your dignity, your reputation, your business relationship with my wife. You'll have to be more specific. He stepped closer, fists clenched. I want my phone back. Now, or what? Or I'll take it back. I laughed. Lane, you're a life coach who can't manage his own life. You live in a studio apartment, drive a 10-year-old Honda, and your biggest accomplishment this year was convincing my wife to pay you for services she could get for free on any street corner. You really think you're going to intimidate me? His face turned red. You don't know anything about me. I know everything about you. I know you got fired from 3 gyms for hitting on married clients. I know your ex-girlfriend is about to evict you from her business. I know you've been charging desperate women for life coaching that's really just expensive therapy without the license. I know you recorded your sessions with my wife, all of them. Very thorough documentation, Lane. Almost professional. He swung at me then, a wild haymaker that telegraphed itself from 3 blocks away. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him into the side of my truck. Careful, I said as he bounced off the fender. That's a company vehicle. Cleo's voice came from behind me. Everything okay out here, Gray? I turned to see her standing in the doorway with Hank Morrison, my old friend from the motorcycle club. Hank was 65 years old and built like a refrigerator with anger management issues. He'd apparently been inside having a quiet drink when the excitement started. Just having a conversation with Lane about professional ethics, I said. Looked like more than a conversation to me, Hank said. cracking his knuckles. This boy giving you trouble, Gray? Lane looked at Hank, then at Cleo, then at me. The fight went out of him all at once. I just want my phone back, he said quietly. I pulled the device out of my pocket and tossed it to him. He caught it, checked the screen, and his face went pale. Relax, I said. I didn't delete anything. I just made copies. Call it insurance. Insurance against what? Against you bothering my wife again. Against you running your little scam on other lonely women. Against you doing anything that might make me decide to share your greatest hits collection with the world. He stared at the phone like it was a live grenade. Here's how this works, I continued. You're going to find a new career. Something that doesn't involve taking advantage of vulnerable people. You're going to stay away from Shiloh. And you're going to stay away from me. And if I don't, then everyone in this town gets to see exactly what kind of life coach you really are. Your ex-girlfriend, your clients, your family, the local news, everyone. Lane looked around at the three of us, realized he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered, and nodded slowly. Good choice, I said. Now get out of here before I change my mind about being reasonable. He walked away without another word, shoulders slumped, phone clutched in his hand like a confession. That was almost too easy, Hank said, watching him go. The easy part's over, I said. Now comes the fun part. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Gray, this is Gina from Shiloh's office. We need to talk. It's about the expense reports. I showed the message to Cleo and Hank. They both grinned. Shiloh always said her career was her baby, I said. I just arranged for a little paternity test. Friday morning, Gina Walsh looked like a shark that had finally found blood in the water. She sat across from me in the coffee shop, a manila folder thick with documents spread between us, her expression somewhere between professional satisfaction and personal vindication. I've been building this case for 3 months, she said, tapping the folder with one perfectly manicured nail. Expense reports that don't match client meetings, hotel charges for non-existent business retreats, credit card statements that read like a personal shopping spree. I flipped through the pages. Shiloh had been busy. The Marriott charges were just the beginning. There were spa treatments, expensive dinners, shopping trips to high-end boutiques, all charged to the company card and justified as professional development or client entertainment. This is enough to get her fired, I said. This is enough to get her arrested, Gina corrected. We're talking about embezzlement, Gray, fraud. The company could press criminal charges. But they won't. Not if she resigns quietly and pays back what she stole, which, according to my calculations, is about $47,000. I whistled low. She's been busy. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I studied Gina's face. She was enjoying this, but there was something else there, something personal. Why are you showing me this instead of taking it straight to HR? She smiled, and it wasn't entirely pleasant. Because Shiloh has been making my life hell for 2 years, stealing my ideas, undermining my projects, spreading rumors about my personal life. This isn't just business for me, Gray. It's personal. So you want revenge. I want justice. There's a difference, is there? She leaned back in her chair. Look, I could take this to the board right now and watch Shiloh crash and burn. But that would be quick, clean, professional. Where's the satisfaction in that? What did you have in mind? Monday morning, there's a board meeting to discuss the quarterly reports. All the department heads will be there, plus senior management. What if Shiloh had to explain these expenses in front of everyone? Public humiliation, public accountability. I liked the way Gina thought. There's just one problem, I said. Shiloh's been out of the office since Wednesday. She might not show up to the meeting. Oh, she'll show up. I'm going to personally invite her. Tell her it's her chance to present her side of the story before I take this to HR. And you want me there? I want you to bring whatever evidence you have about her extracurricular activities. The more complete the picture, the more devastating the impact. I thought about Lane's phone, about the audio files from Rain's Tesla, about the detailed notes in Shiloh's appointment calendar. I can do that. Good. Gina started gathering her papers. One more thing, Gray. After Monday, this is over. Whatever happens between you and Shiloh after that is your business. But her career in this town is finished. After Gina left, I sat in the coffee shop for another hour, thinking about consequences and collateral damage. In 3 days, I'd gone from discovering my wife's infidelity to orchestrating her complete professional destruction. The old Gray would have been horrified. The new Gray was just getting started. My phone rang. Shiloh. For the first time since Wednesday, I answered. Gray, thank God. Where are you? I've been trying to reach you for days. I know. We need to talk. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. I can explain everything. Can you? Yes. It's not what you think. Those men, they were helping me. I was trying to surprise you, to become someone better, someone you could be proud of. I almost laughed. Even now, caught red-handed, she was spinning the story to make herself the victim. Shiloh, I saw the notes. I saw the hotel charges. I know about the company credit card. Silence on the other end of the line. I know about the photos, the videos, the recordings. I know about all of it. Gray, her voice was small now, scared. Monday morning, you have a meeting with the board. Gina's going to present some interesting financial documents. I suggest you prepare your explanations carefully. What are you talking about? I'm talking about $47,000 in fraudulent expenses. I'm talking about using company resources for personal entertainment. I'm talking about